crazy? You've resigned another 21 years and you get your pension. 21 more years of that? Are you crazy? I was gone. I was out. So 2 or 3 months later, with my best friend Russ, who unfortunately is no longer with us, we bought an old van, an old Volkswagen van with a mattress in the back to sleep on. And we went down to Andorra and we had a plan. We'd ski for the winter, try and get a bit better at the skiing, and then, a bit like driving from here all the way to the south of Argentina, we were going to drive to South Africa with the Sahara Desert, lions, tigers, snakes and elephants and everything else in the way. That journey never happened. Why? Passion. You couldn't keep me off the slopes. I'd be the first one up there every morning and the last one down pretty much every day. And then, maybe quite stupidly, I don't know, I announced to the ski school guys that I was Chalky White, was going to be a ski instructor. You, Chalky, will never be a ski instructor as long as you live. Do you think at that stage that really fazed me? Do you think that put me off? Do you think it did? You're allowed to answer. It didn't. It didn't put me off. Because the reason it didn't put me off was because the dream was strong. I really, this is what I wanted to do the most in my whole life. So, we get to the end of the ski season. That's first complete ski season. And I went off down to Greece to meet a friend down there, about probably 1,000 miles away. And I had a great time. My job was a bit like maybe here, digging holes for beach umbrellas, you know, keep the sun off people. And I got to the end of the summer, absolutely no money whatsoever. And I go back to England, and I thought, well, I need a job. But what I decided over the last few years was, I will not have a job in England. I will not work in England. I had to work abroad. So I start looking through the newspapers for a job. And I see one advertised. And I still remember what the ad says to this day. It said, supplying educational materials to the United States military in West Germany. So I went for the interview at this great big, the Russell Hotel, big hotel in the middle of London. And I walk into this room and there's about 100 people sitting there. I thought, what's going on here? And then a man walks out onto the stage and he starts doing a demonstration. He's got all these great big sheets of paper with pictures and words and everything on. And as he's doing it, there are people pretty much literally running for the doors, running out the doors like rats leaving a sinking ship. By the time we get to the end of his demonstration, maybe there was about 15 left. He said, right, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. I'm going to interview you one at a time. So he said to me, do you want to do this? I said, yeah, maybe. He said, right, what you need to do, he says, is buy yourself an air ticket from London to Frankfurt in Germany, and then get on a train and a bus and go to, the Minerschaft Hotel. And the next morning, I will pay you, I will reimburse you with all your expenses. So I go home and I tell my naysayer father. You can imagine what his reaction was. Nobody ever makes it doing that. Nobody ever makes it. Selling encyclopedias? Are you kidding? Because that's what the job was. I don't think I said that a bit earlier on. It was selling encyclopedias door to door. I wouldn't do that, would I? But I went. And when I arrived there, sure enough, he paid me the money that he owed me that very next morning. And out of the 100 people that were at that interview, that were originally there, only 2 of us showed up in Germany, only 2. And by the time we got to the end of the week's training, there was just yours truly, only me. I was the only one left. So they then put me onto a sales team. And we used to work just in the evenings when people were much more likely to be home, because we were not doing it on the bases. We were doing it where they were living out in apartments and that kind of thing. So they dropped me off, and this is October, in this cold, dark German village. And I'm standing there thinking, really? Am I really going to do this? But then I thought, but what if I don't do this? And I hated the answers, because the answers told me that I'd end up back in England, still with no money, with my dream basically in tatters, and I definitely wouldn't be going skiing in Andorra. But those negative answers, again, made me think, and I thought, but what if I do stay here? And what if I do this? Then what happens? And of course, I realized that then, if I was successful, if I was successful, I could then have lots of money, perhaps go back to Andorra, not have to work all ski season, and then be able to go from Andorra, 1,500 miles, about 2,000 kilometres plus, all the way up to Scotland to take my very first ski instructor's exam. I knocked on my first door. Young American guy comes to the door. Yeah, what do you need? So our introduction was, and I'll use my real name, which is Bernard, like Bernardo. My name's Bernard from England, and while I'm here in Germany, I'd also like to visit an American family. Would I be welcome in your home? Come on in, Bernard. Well, nobody was more surprised than me. I actually got into the door. So I get in there, and there were 2 rules. And the first rule was that if you got in there and you saw that they already had a set of encyclopedias, a set of books, that you go, oh, I see you've already got a set of these, that's what I'm really here for, and then you'd leave, right? So I get in there, and sure enough, he got a set of books. But I thought, I'm here. I'm going to demonstrate here to a real live prospect. And I did. I did the demonstration, and he thought it was wonderful. He loved it. He said, Bernard, he said, that is wonderful. I really want to have that. He said, but can you come back tomorrow when my wife's here? I'd broken the second rule. You weren't supposed, I mean, have you all heard this before somewhere along the line, maybe, with what you do? Mm-hmm. I've broken the second rule. You weren't supposed to demonstrate if both of them weren't actually there. He said, can you come back tomorrow and demonstrate to my wife? And we were always told, it never works on the second day. So I said, well, I'll try to. And this was actually true. We're moving towns tomorrow, so I might not be able to come back. So I go back to my hotel and I see my manager. Naysayer. Nobody ever buys it on the second day. You just totally wasting your time. Next morning, we get in the car and we're driving through that village, and he says, "Where does that guy live that you spoke to last night?" I said, "Over there." He said, "You've got 15 minutes. Come on in, Bernard." I'm introduced to his wife, do the demonstration. 20 minutes later, signed contract. I somehow, more by luck than judgment, managed to sell a set of encyclopedias at the very first door I ever knocked on. But why did that happen? It was because of the what-if factor. If I hadn't have come up with those answers, those nasty negative answers, there's a very good chance I'd have joined the other 99 people that were at first at that interview, right? And gone back to England. With what? Absolutely zero. So this is why this actually works. This is why the what-if factor actually does work. So this might be something that you might, somewhere along the line, want to put into what you actually do yourselves. You might not want to use it all the time, but it's certainly something you can put into your armory that you can perhaps use down the road. I did that job for 11 months, became a manager, ended up owning a car and a recreational vehicle that I used to tow behind, where I lived in it in the summer, traveling around Germany. I had my own sales team. Got to 11 months, ski season's coming, sold the car, sold the recreational vehicle, back to Andorra, loads of money, didn't have to work, end of season, up to Scotland, first exam, pass! Passed the first time. Wow. So now, it's all hunky-dory, right? Everything's great now, right? Not really. Because my ultimate dream was to become a fully qualified ski instructor, and to do that, you had to pass 3 exams. And we used to call that top one, we used to call it the Holy Grail. Some of you might have actually heard that from Monty Python somewhere. And I go back to Scotland and took the level 2, first time, fail. Second time, fail. Third time, pass. Passed the third time that exam. So everything would be hunky-dory now, right? Wrong. Now I had the Holy Grail, the top exam. It became the biggest challenge of my life. I took that exam in Scotland 3 times. And one time, actually, when I was up there, I used to have this trainer. And his name was Jimmy Smith, a good, honest Scotsman. And he used to say things like, "Okay, boys, we don't have much snow, so we're going to have to paint the rocks white." And then one day, we're out there on the snow, and it's spring, and the snow was awful because it was very wet, and when you fell over in it, you got soaked through. And he said, "Okay, lads, 1 ski off." So we had to take 1 ski off and then go up this drag lift, being pulled across the ground on 1 foot. And then Jimmy Smith would stand there, and we'd just have to keep going. We'd have to ski down, go up again, ski down, go up again. Well, I'd never skied on 1 ski ever before. And every time I'd make a turn, plop, in the snow. Another turn, plop, in the snow. Over and over again. And one time, I landed right at Jimmy's feet. And he looked down at me and he said, "Are you all right, Chalky?" I said, "I think so, Jimmy." He said, "Just keep chewing the granite, laddie." Chewing the rocks. What did Jimmy really mean by that? Or what could he have meant by that? What he could have really meant by that was, go on to the next and the next. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. And eventually, you will be able to stand on one foot. You will be able to ski down this mountain. And it's the same, exactly the same with perhaps with what you're doing for a living. Every time I fall over, it was basically someone saying to me, no. But because I kept on practicing, eventually, well, by the way, I did actually end up being pretty good at skiing on one ski. Maybe not right then, but eventually I actually did, funnily enough. So I get to my third time taking the Holy Grail, the top exam, and I failed. And they had a meeting about me. And the conclusion they came to was, Chalky White, me, will never be a fully certified ski instructor because he's the wrong body shape. It was because I have, if you can see at the front here, bowed or bandy legs. And in Britain, they used to require that we would stand on our skis with our feet pretty much bolted together like this. Well, that was impossible for me because I couldn't put any pressure of any note on the skis, right? You talk about a crossroads. Where was I to go now? I still had this dream of getting the Holy Grail. I could ski still in Andorra where I was, but I didn't want to stay in Andorra. I wanted to do other things. So I had to have that Holy Grail. But I was finished. I was absolutely finished in Britain. I knew that I wasn't going to pass there because they weren't interested in me. And then one day, it came to me. New Zealand. I'd heard that they would actually accept foreigners down there to take their full certification. So I bought another expensive air ticket. Didn't know of really anybody down in New Zealand. I get there, I go to a place called Mount Hutt on the South Island of New Zealand. And somehow I got myself into the ski school so I could actually earn some money. But then I went to the first Holy Grail full certification ski clinic to do the training to be able to take the exam. And I'm standing there waiting for the trainer to come, and he looked straight at me. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I've come to take your full certification." He said, "You can't." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because you don't have our first exam." I said, "Yeah, but I've got the first two British ones which are higher than your preliminary exam." He said, "I don't care." So there I was in New Zealand, can't take the exam. So now I'm at a crossroads again, but this time it's a crossroads with a cul-de-sac, a dead end. So I sat down and thought, what if I don't stay here? What if I go back to England? Where does that get me? Nowhere. But if I stay here, well, The upside of it is at least I can carry on doing some training, and I have a job for the winter. So I stayed. And in Buddhist philosophy, there's a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And my mentor, my teacher, the one I've been waiting for with regard to my skiing, appeared right there. He was a gruff-speaking American named Peter Curtis, and he was the technical director of the Mount Hutt Ski School. And one day, he saw me skiing, and he said, why are you skiing with your feet so close together? I said, because that's what the British asked me to do. He said, you goddamn limers, he said, get your feet open and then you might be able to ski. So I obviously did as ordered, and my skiing went basically into orbit. I just got better. Every time Peter would say something to me, I seemed to get better and better and better and better. And in the meantime, I decided to take a risk and keep going back to the full certification clinics. And I go back, and he didn't throw me out. He let me stay. And I went again and again. I always made sure I was the first one to arrive. I tried to work the hardest and be the last one to leave. And he never threw me out. And then one day he came to me and he said, you really want to do this, don't you? I said, yeah, I do. He said, I'm going to let you. I nearly kissed him. Tough thing for me to do, but I nearly did. I nearly kissed him. So I keep going to the ski school training clinics as well. And Peter came up to me one day and he said, this exam that you've come all this way to take, you're going to pass it. And he was right. I did. After 8 attempts to pass 3 exams, I now had the Holy Grail. I had the full certification. Now, what would have happened on so many occasions had I not said to myself, what if I don't do this? Or just like J.K. Rowling, keep going to the next. Keep asking the question. Keep asking the question. And that's what we all need to do, whether it's in our private lives and we really want something, trying to fulfill a dream there, or whether it's to do with, clients that you have here that want to buy your products here. Yeah, it might be September, early October, when there's not very many clients around. And when you do get clients, maybe they don't have as much money as normal, and you keep getting no, 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 no. But what do you have to keep doing? You have to keep on asking the question. And when they say no, on to the next. Because every time they say no, it gets you closer to that big yes. So now, just a couple more what if I don't do this questions. There used to be a ski instructor in Britain. You might have heard of him. His name was Ali Ross. Ali Ross was, at the time, probably the best known British ski instructor. And Ali used to run his own ski clinics in the Alps in Europe. And I decided, and of course, he was a great skier, this guy. And I decided, after I came back from New Zealand, and this had been in my mind for a long time, that I wanted to start my own sort of mini ski school. So, probably stupidly again, I announced to the Andorra Ski School again, I'm going to start my own thing in France. Who do you think you are? Ali Ross? You don't ski well enough to do that. But I believed in my dream, and I went and I did it. And after 2 seasons, I was completely filling up my courses every week. So much so that for the 3rd season, I had to hire another ski instructor to be able to take the overflow. So it became a very, very big success. What would have happened there if I'd have said, okay, he's probably right, yeah, I'm not Ali Ross, I'm not going to go and do this. But I decided, I believe in this, I'm passionate about it, I'm going to do it. My book, The 7 Secrets of Skiing, it got to #1 position on Amazon.com for skiing books. When I'd almost finished writing it, I went to see my ski school director. And I said, I need a couple of ski instructors to be in the photographs for my book to demonstrate. He said, yeah, he said, that sounds like a great idea, but you can't be in them. I said, why not? He said, you don't ski well enough. Now, you think I might have given up by now, right? So many people keep telling me I wasn't a very good skier. But anyway, I go away and I almost quit on publishing the book. I almost did, but a friend persuaded me on that occasion that I've got to publish it because the information is really good in the book. So anyway, I found my own ski instructors, and all 3 of the ski instructors were world synchronized skiing champions, great demonstrator skiers, could demonstrate ski maneuvers. And I was the only one actually that wasn't a champion or even a good skier, come to that matter. And after the photographs were taken, the lady that took them, she was also a trainer of ski instructors. And she came to me afterwards and she said, do you know what? Your demonstrations were just as good as the other 3. And in fact, your hand and arm carriage, the way you carry those, was actually better than those other 3. And then the rest is history. The book went to #1 on Amazon.com. So, what can you take away from this little talk of mine? What you can remember is that during the darkest times you can have some of your greatest victories, provided you keep hanging in there and keep going on to the next and on to the next. 21 times, 22 times, 23 times, like J.K. Rowling. Or even if necessary, 100 times. Because if it's your dream and if it's your goal and it's something that you passionately want, why would you quit? And actually, Winston Churchill again, one of his favourite sayings was, never, never, never surrender. And that's something that, again, I've always remembered, you know, and just for us every day, it's just never quit on anything that you really want to do. So, lastly, all of us have in us an indomitable spirit. A spirit which, when we really want to use it and we don't want to quit, we'll keep going and we'll keep going and we'll keep going right to the very end. And if the dream is right, we will keep on going. Is that true? When you really want something, do you just keep going and going and going, or you go, I can't be bothered? Normally things that you really want, you are going to actually keep on going. And as a result, you can beat your naysayers, your doubts, even your own self-doubts, over and over and over again. Thank you.